Okay, let's see what happens. So we're back. Okay. Thank you for joining in. Let's see if I can add. Okay. Indra. There she is. Okay. Indra, maybe request to be on. See if you can do that, Indra. Because I'm having technical difficulties also. Let's see. Hi, everyone. Okay, let's see. Accept. Say a little prayer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it worked!
Can you hear me, first of all?
First of all, I can hear you. No, let me tell you. I've been where you are, and I am as calm as you think I am. In my head, I'm going, no, we have to connect.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's all good. Well, look at you, Lady Beautiful. How are you?
I'm fine. This is my first time doing Instagram Live.
Okay.
I've done Facebook Live. So I thought surely it was something on my end, but I'm glad that.
No, sometimes, the universe just doesn't align us, and we have to log off and log on. And this time I had you request to be on, and that's all that matters. So here we are. Welcome, everyone, to our official launch of TG Vivo with the one and only Indra Thomas. I am thrilled to have you, my dear. You look beautiful, fabulous.
Thank you.
All glammed up and ready to show up.
Thank you. Only from this up. Don't go down, though.
No. Wait.
Just this up.
Let's have a real moment. I had on my workout clothes earlier before, and I'm like, I can't dare put on my workout shorts with the shirt. In the event I get up, it's all over.
Because I had a moment of that. I was like, can I just wait? No, I can't do that.
Okay. Let me wave to our audience. Happy lunch, everyone, to you here on the East Coast. If you're lunching with us, thank you so much for hanging in there, coming back for our technical difficulty ride of a wave.
Thank you.
That being said, I am David Santiago, the host of TG Vivo, our new media series, which we are diving into our cast, our productions, our creative teams, our missions, a little bit about outreach and beyond. And we had a nice jump start earlier this week with our artistic and general director, Stefanos Koroneos. And now we're here with Indra Thomas. So before I go on to that, I just wanted to share a little bit really quick about the mission of Teatro Grattacielo. And it's to promote the rich tradition of Italian-style opera, revitalizing lesser works, supporting emerging singers, creating an all-inclusive community programming. We strive to address the lack of exposure of hidden gems like La Vestale, introducing them to new audiences. And through artist advocacy programs and partnerships like we have with Indra Thomas, we provide invaluable opportunities for young artists and beyond. So before I go on rambling on about our mission,
which is a fabulous mission. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm really, this energy is just more excitement than anything. And for those, I want to be real transparent. Indra and I had a chance to talk the other day, and we kind of just connected and had wonderful phone chemistry. And I love that because it just transfers over to this kind of video medium for our audience as well.
Yeah.
And just to reiterate one more time, if there are any questions from our audience while we're talking, feel free to put it in the comment box and I will address it. But first, there's no better way to really get a general consensus and a little bit of history about a self-introduction, Indra. So share with us a little bit about where you are at this stage in your career, what you're working on, and then we'll dive into a little bit of my questions. But none better than you yourself to introduce yourself yourself to Teatro Grattacielo.
Well,
Welcome, dear.
Thank you. I'm so glad that I'm debuting this fabulous company. Originally from Atlanta. I went to ABA in Philly, moved to New York, and now I'm back in Atlanta. I teach voice. I'm an artist in residence at Berry College. It's my second academic assignment. I was at Shorter College, my alma mater, first. And, you know, in this business, you have a lot of things at your disposal. I mean, you can be a performer, which I am, not was,
Yes.
but am. And because even in my everyday talk, I feel like I'm a performer. but also too, you get to teach and mentor and share your performance experiences with your students, especially the ones who are performance majors. And I'm so happy that I have this opportunity to do this and mentor and grow young, not just young voices, but young singers in this business.
Yep.
Because there's so many things about this business that I wish I would have just kind of got touched on in voice lessons or coachings before the business part of it.
Yeah.
And so I do a little teaching, which I love, and I do a little singing as well. So I have a nice balance of both, which I really appreciate. And through teaching, and when I was at Shorter, I was the director of opera. So I got to be an opera director. So I have my resume. And I got to be to see what a music director, the music director really has to go through when trying to, you know, teach music and teach and understand, not just teach the music, but teach the opera and the characterization. So it's been so much fun to pick up little things that you're just not aware of when you're in the business. You're just worried about your voice and your role and things like that. Yeah. Whereas I get to worry about a full production. So anyway, things like that is what I've been exposed to. I'm very excited about.
I think that's great. You know, you're tapping in on a lot of things that that resonate with me and probably our audience. And I'm so glad you were just so forthright and kind of dove right in. And it's great to be in a position that you, from a different, completely perspective in our opera world, because there's so many moving parts to what we do and how we do it, and so many responsibilities. But I'm going to rewind a little bit, and I want to ask you a little bit about your personal journey. Where did you grow up, and where, you know, what were your musical influences as you were growing up, you know, through your childhood into your teenage years and early adulthood?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll give the fast question about that. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and I am a product of the Atlanta public school system. My father was a minister, so you know the story.
Amen.
You know, a lot of PKs in this business, which, you know, we all are kindred spirits. We're all like little abused kids, if you will. But anyway, my father and my mother were beautiful and wonderful people. They're both deceased now. But I grew up, my mother was very adamant about me not singing in the church choir. I didn't know why. I think a little bit it was that she didn't want to, you know, the preacher's kids, they see more than they need to see sometimes. And so she didn't want to have that kind of exposure, I guess. But mostly of all, I think she really wanted to preserve my voice. I think she understood. She was kind of my first voice teacher. So I think she really understood that my voice was something that she wanted to grow to be something more special. And so I did a lot of solos in church, which kind of groomed me for this business, if you will, because it puts you in the spotlight early on. And so I started taking voice lessons from my choir teacher, Miss Mildred Fawcett, at Harper High School, which doesn't exist anymore in Atlanta. And she taught me for free, guys.
Amen.
I mean,
amen.
4 years. And she invested before school, at lunchtime, and after school, hours with me, teaching me not just how to sing again, but really mentored me and to groom me and to be in this business. And that she set such a beautiful foundation for me. I've been very blessed with voice teachers. And then after that, I went to Shorter College and had majored in voice performance. She was very adamant about me not being teach, to be a teacher. She really wanted me to do it. You know, for my mom, who was had a beautiful operatic voice, and for Miss Fawcett, who also had a beautiful operatic voice, I think I was their dream to go and be, you know, an international voice opera singer. And so they put a lot of both my mom and her put a lot of in the beginnings, put a lot in me to go and do that. And then when I left college, I started with this fantastic teacher, and it was Elizabeth Colson here in Atlanta. She was the teacher to go to. She was the one that was going to put you on the map. And so a lot of these teachers, and how it goes for me, a lot of my teachers were more than just teachers. They were mentors. Again, she was too mentoring me to be in this business, teaching me what opera looked like at the time that I went into it. And then after that, I started studying. I went to ABA and started studying with the great and wonderful Bill Schumann. And so
Bill.
Bill. He's still my teacher now, and he and I have been, you know, going back and forth with this La Vestale, and I'm very grateful for him. And so for me, my journey of teaching has always been trust. And I talked to a lot of my peers, and I had to leave him. They were crazy. And it was like, I don't understand that concept, because all of my teachers have been so kind, so giving, so mentoring. I don't know why God put them in my life, but he did. And I'm very, very grateful for it.
Well, that's because you have a light, my dear. You have an inner light that was meant to be exactly where it is. And, you know, the past was somewhat written for you. Let's kind of put it laid out.
Yes.
Yeah. Amen. And amen to your mother, and amen to your teachers. You know, I love hearing that, because I have a connection with that too. My first musical teacher, Dr. Warren, who I still see on Facebook, and I know through my elementary years, was such an influence. Mrs. Walker in high school, all these teachers that planted seeds that as we evolve as young adults and we pursue the careers that you and I have both, you certainly on a trajectory path, that we're able to reflect and go, my goodness, they weren't only teachers, they were mentors. And that's a beautiful thing to hear, beautiful thing to, you know, admire, and a beautiful thing to give back to the universe. So young singers, you know, mid-career singers, just remember those moments, because they're important. Really are important. Yeah,
and absolutely. And also to be aware that someone is giving you way more than, because at the time you're not really aware of how much they're giving you until you get into the business that they're grooming you for, and you go, oh my God, Miss Fawcett told me about that. I'm so glad she set me up for these things. Oh my God, Miss Colson told me about this, or Bill told me about that. Or Mr. Ramser Mr. Ramser was the most important not the most important. It was very instrumental in giving me repertoire.
Yeah.
So every teacher has something, and I just want to encourage teach students. I don't care if you're doing music or biology or mathematics or whatever. Soak it up. Take the moment. You won't have these moments again. And you don't know if you'll have that kind of person again in your life. So if you see somebody who is really helping you, gravitate to it, be grateful for it. Tell them that you appreciate them too, because that's important too.
I love that you said soak it up, because I use the metaphor of a sponge. I always say I'm a sponge. And the second my sponge dries up, I soak it up again, and I stay hungry, and I always have an appetite. And I'm never too good or too secure to learn and take in and be even mentored today.
Yes.
Because it's important to grow. Always growing forward and growing upwards.
It's like going on levels, right? It's like you get to the new level, you think, okay, great. You soaked everything up, and you get to the new level and you go, oh my God, I got to get started on this new thing again. Always be willing to learn, and grow always. Anyway, okay.
I love that. So you kind of tapped on a little bit leading up to my next question, but truly, let's think about this. What was your first experience listening and attending opera? Outside of what you already shared with us a little bit with your mother being a singer and so forth, what were those moments that really just impacted you, stayed with you, that you're like, oh, there's something here?
Okay, so mine, it's like I said, I grew up in church. So I grew up around a lot of gospel music. My voice teacher gave me my first aria, which was Kill Bel Sogno from La Rondine. in 10th grade. I know.
Yes.
10th grade. Of course, I had a very classical tone in high school, and she thought that this song would be perfect for me to learn. I learned it in English first, and then she brought in a coach to teach me in Italian, Mr. Lawrence Weaver, who just adored him. He's passed away, unfortunately. But that was my first experience singing opera, and I thought to myself, I have found my niche. I found what I'm supposed to do. And as much as I love R&B and all, when I sing it, it doesn't give me the same feeling that classical music does. I know I'm home. I feel home. Then my friends took me to in college, Sherry Sutton and Paul Hamilton. They took me to Porgy and Bess. That was my first opera.
Man, yes.
And they said, you got to go see it. Do you know this? I'm going to say, I don't know. And of course, I don't know why. I didn't know a lot. I didn't know a lot about opera, obviously.
Sure.
So they said, do you know this opera? I said, I think I've heard of it. What it's about, you know? They said, we're going to see it. We went to see it in Atlanta. It was a traveling group from Houston when they toured with it, the touring group from Houston. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Cynthia Hayman was Bess, and Sir Willard White was Porgy.
Wow.
I think. It feels like that's right. I remember Cynthia Hayman because she looked like me.
Yes.
She sounded like me. And I saw me on that stage, and I said, oh, okay, got it. I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. You know, and that representation is important. We are so passive sometimes about, oh, you know, but I think if the student can see themselves, if the Spanish kid can see themselves, if the Russian kid can, or the Asian or the white kid can see themselves, then they can see, oh, I see how I can do it now. So seeing Miss Hayman on that stage was, first of all, she was a beast, and she sang like a goddess.
Yeah.
And it was the acting, all the elements that had awakened in me. It's like, I can do that. That's what I want to do. And and it was one of the best things. And since, here's the thing, young singers, if you can see an end game, then you can almost see your path to it. Yep. So a lot of my students, when I'm at the Met, I invite one of my students up. I tell them, you got to come up. I'm taking you to the opera. You're going to go to rehearsals with me. You need to see this process, because if that's the end game for you, I bet you can find a way there. Yeah. It solidifies things. It's like, oh, I know what I need to do. I know what I need to work on. Sometimes you feel like, I don't know what I need to do. What should I be working on? What it's so much. It's so overwhelming. It feels like you can line it up and solidify it. Yeah. And so that's how I felt when I saw Cynthia Hayman. It's like, okay, I know what I need to do. I need to work on my acting. I need to work on my this. I need to work on that. And all the things. And we work on those things, and we move towards the goal that, we set for ourselves.
I love that. And you touch on something, identity, being able to connect with that medium, that person, those faces, that sound, that whatever, that identifiable thing that we have, that we look for is really potent and significant. And we need to see ourselves on stage. And if we don't, we look for it, and we need to travel also. But before I go on to the next question, I want to welcome everybody to TG Vivo, our first Instagram Live with the one and only Indra Thomas, who will be playing the role of Julia in La Vestale, that we're going to touch on in just a moment. But welcome. I hope you're having coffee, lunch, tea here on the East Coast in the New York, New Jersey metro area, or internationally, wherever you are. I wanted to, we've been talking about opera, and before I go into La Vestale, I like questions about career highlights, especially thus far. I've had a couple wonderful moments in my journey, and still soaring and growing, as many of our singers at Teatro Grattacielo are. What are some of your career highlights that every once in a while you just kind of look at yourself in the mirror, or you're talking to yourself, you're like, That was a great one. This was a great one. Share with us some of those wonderful moments, because those are testimonials.
So, you know, when you're young, you don't realize, you don't see your future. Especially if you're African American in America,
Right.
it's like, I hope I make it to Tuesday sometimes, you know. So when I started in the career, I I said, oh, okay, I'm just gonna sing. And I started singing. And my first large gig, God rest his soul, my first agent, Paul Cote, got me this gig. He talked to everybody about me. And that's another thing, people. If your agent is excited about you, then they will get work for you. Because they will talk. And he was more of an impresario than anything else. He got me my first gig at Carnegie Hall, singing the Verdi Requiem.
Amen.
And so the Requiem for me holds a lot for me. It was also the year it was also my debut at the Met that year. It was 1999. It was also the year that I lost my mom. And so I had to sing this Verdi Requiem at Carnegie Hall with now both deceased parents. And I remember my moment when I got to the a cappella section. We all know the
Sure.
a cappella section in the Librettto.
Goosebumps.
Right.
Goosebumps.
And I look to the second tier, right below the exit sign, and I see my mom and my dad standing there looking at me. And I get to sing this beautiful Requiem Eterna, you know, rest in eternal light and may perpetual light shine upon you.
Yeah.
And I get to tell them this. Because, you know, when you have, my mother and father were so supportive of me, and I want to see them see me succeed. And that was that moment. And that was that moment that Verdi Requiem at Carnegie Hall debut early in my career, at the top of my career, and to see them, that was a very moving moment for me. Another moving moment is one of my biggest debuts in Europe. It's the debuts for me that I thought, this is fantastic. And I got to sing Aida in Orange at the big festival there, in the summer festival, with Roberto Alagna. And the sweetest man on the planet, really, really sweet. Because he's a superstar. And you think, oh my God, like, I'm going to stay clear of him. He's going to be, you know, raging. But he was not. He was kind. He was giving. He was supportive. Just the kindest colleague. And those are the biggest moments that stand out in me. And then one was the Aida. A lot of my life is around Aida, obviously. But the Aida we did in Bregenz, and I was there with some of the most coolest people on the planet. But it was outdoors and it was on the water. And doing this Aida out there was really big, and I with some of the funniest people, Kevin Shore, Arnold Rawls, and Brad Gavin, and just so many wonderful people there, and we had a really good summer. It was really fun. And then a jump in Aida in Africa. One more kid. That enough said, done.
Enough.
That was it.
Mic drop. No, without the mic.
Aida in Africa? Are you kidding me? Yes. Yes, I'll be there. Thank you.
You know, you just bring me back. You know, you've touched on a couple of things, and I just want to share my first experience with Cuba Sonia was on record, and it was with none other than Leontine Price.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, hello.
Yes.
You know, there's a classic LP of Leontine Price. It's a blue album.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yes.
She sings Sempre Libera. She sings Cuba. So, I mean, all these things. So, and again, Aida, all these things. You know, so I'm listening to you, and I'm vicariously having some sense memory of my Cuba Sonia experience, but nothing compared to yours, of course. Those are beautiful moments to share.
Yeah.
You know, especially the one of mom and dad in the beginning with the Verdi Requiem. Oh my goodness, you know, it's that kind of piece. I mean, that kind of composition. You know, that there's a lot of symbolism in that Requiem Mass.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that. That was quite a personal moment. Yes. All right, let's get into a little bit of fun with Giulia with La Vestale.
Yes.
When you first encountered this opportunity and it came your way, I mean, we're celebrating Maria Callas's 100th birth anniversary.
No pressure. Okay.
No pressure. I don't listen. There's pressure, and then there's no pressure. You know what I mean? Because you have an opportunity to take a role like this, and really, with everything that's associated with it, as your artist, the brilliant person that I'm learning you are, you get to bring Indira into this, your own element to it. You can take all the spices, but honey, you're the chef.
I know. And I'm telling myself that I can be me. I don't have to pretend to be Maria Callas, because, you know, our voices are totally different. And so the more and more I work through the role, the more and more I'm finding moments that, oh, I really like this moment. There's so many great moments in this opera. Yeah. And I think, wow, why aren't we doing this? And it's just as big as any Puccini or Wagner or Verdi opera, and just as fabulous. Yeah. So I'm so excited we get an opportunity to share this piece with the public in October.
I do too. Yes, so everyone, October 28th at the Gerald Lynch Theater here in New York. It's on our website. We have a great roster of singers that are going to be on our Instagram Live up and coming. So stay tuned to that. You know, when you're working on a piece like La Vestale, I kind of want to say I know the answer to this, but where do you begin? Where does Indra begin?
A very good start is at the beginning. So, you know, I started, well, the first thing you want to start, if you're doing if anyone who sings this opera, and they should do this opera, tell the soprano to start with the second act aria, because it's a beast. It's 10 minutes long, I think. It feels like it's 20 minutes long, but it's 10 minutes long. It is a beast. I guess if you can get through Sempre Libre, you can get through this aria. But the thing about this role is that it's a lot of middle voice singing, middle to passaggio singing. And so I'm having, you know, to really work out that. And it's funny because it goes from middle to passaggio, and it kind of hangs out in that area. And then he pops out a high note. And then you go back down to the passaggio in the middle, the second passaggio, you know. And that's what I started with, the second act aria first, and then I moved to learning the rest of the opera. If anyone's interested in how I perceive learning operas, is you know, take the month to really concentrate, a month to concentrate on the opera. The first week is Act 1, Act 2 is the second week, the third week is Act 3. And if there's Act 4, the fourth week, but the fourth week, you kind of put it all together. And then you'll have a sense of the continuity of the piece. Because people are always trying to figure out how to learn an opera. And that's the best way. You start at the beginning and trudge through. And keep going and having that consistency. That's hard because, you know, it can get kind of overwhelming, especially if it's in a foreign language. But I started with Act 2 aria. Yeah.
Listen, I start with legal pad on the dining room table. I write down... I go old school, pencil, paper, forget the computer. I'm very organic, and usually it works. I mean, my brain doesn't work and register as fast as it used to, especially when you're multitasking and you're trying to make a living supplementary, and you've got so many things that are interrupting the brain, our brain, that we need to learn the type of music and lyrics that we need to, not to assume, but
they know. Thanks for saying that, because I thought that I was just crazy, but you're right. There's so many. I'm teaching and I'm still performing, so I have to do this gig and then get back to the. So I gave myself a break. I told myself I'm okay and it's okay. Yeah. And I look at the opera. I've scheduled coachings already. And so I go to my coachings, whether I really put some work into the studying the school. That's the key, putting in coachings and voice lessons, because it kind of forces you to go ahead and look at the piece and to really work on some level of the piece. But there's a lot of stuff that you have to do on your own too. But if you love this business and you want to, you know, stay at a standard, give yourself a standard to be at, then you're going to put in the work regardless, whether or not you have a lot of things going on or not. But I have to say, it's hard and it's a challenge, but it's not impossible. So impossibilities is what it's not. So I just remember that. Even though it's hard, it's not impossible.
Listen, if it was easy, everyone would be singing it. I mean, not to say that, and you know what I mean. I mean, yes. And there's some great singers out there, and they're just like, you know what? I don't want to work that hard.
Right.
I do not want to work that hard. I can't. I don't have it in me. And they're fabulous singers and fabulous musicians. This is a whole nother level of art and discipline. And as one of my very dear friends, the fortune's in the follow-up.
Right.
And the work you put in. And to your point, you know, you go from table to coach to voice teacher, and you have that wonderful trifecta effect that if it's all in sync, you get a beautiful blossom.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Talking about blossoms and blessings, we're at about our half hour, a little bit over. Not over. I have no time restraint with you, my dear. And feel free to ask any questions you have. My end, this is a collaborative initiative. Most important, a celebratory one for opera, our social media, our audience. And one of the reasons we wanted to initiate this kind of programming was for our audience who are coming to the operas, who follow Teatro Grattacielo. They get to discover our singers and connect and have that identifiable, you know, sentence or reaction or journey as you and I are connecting. Because when you connect with people, the performances are even just more amplified, I think.
Absolutely. Well, we live in a world now, especially since the pandemic, we live in a different kind of world now. And we have such access to social media and videos that we want to kind of get to know the person. So we will go and, you know, do a little deep dive on what is this person like? What are they, what else have they done? I want to hear them sing. I want to hear them talk. So this is a great opportunity, because then the audience member can get to kind of peek behind the curtain a little bit, which back and before wasn't really the case, you know. So this is nice.
So one of my final questions would be, I know we've kind of tapped on this because it's just been such a wonderful organic conversation about the blessings and maybe more immediate blessings in your life that you could share with us, and fun moments that I always like a little sense of humor, a little bit of enjoyment while we're working. Let's exhale a little bit. I know it's a very structured career and world we live in, but we have to laugh a little. We got to love a little. We got to smile a little, and we have to celebrate. So fun blessings, fun moments that you would like to share with us.
So the biggest blessings that I've had in my career is my colleagues that I've worked with and I've gotten to know over the years. Some of them have become really close friends, and I was talking to one of my closest friends in the business is Laquita Mitchell, and I was talking to her the other day. I was saying, you know, Laquita, I'm so glad that you and I are close because we can talk. We can talk about soprano stuff, and I can feel safe in this space with you, and I love that about my colleagues, and this feels like we're more of a family when it comes to because after the pandemic, every gig I've been on, it felt more like a family more so than I'm at work. And I like that it's moving towards that, because I feel that we can collaborate. The collaboration that we have is a little bit more richer, more honest, and you can pull more out of that if you can, and also you can trust your colleagues because you feel like you can on stage, and it's nothing like being on stage and you can't trust a colleague. Oh my gosh. That has been very nice to have that feeling of that. A funny something that happened on one of my gigs. I don't know how funny it was, but it's I was singing the Verdi Rec Room over in the Grand Tetons, and God, Marietta Simpson and I were singing, and I love Marietta Simpson, and I've obviously heard of her. Robert Shaw used her a lot here with the Atlanta Symphony, and I got to meet her again, one of the most beautiful people on the planet, and one fantastic singer. It's so much enjoyed working with her. I worked with her a few times in my career, but she said, "Hey, let's go whitewater rafting." Huh? I said, I don't swim. Girl, you don't know how to swim. You don't have to swim to do right. So she and I went whitewater rafting right before a performance of the Verdi Requiem, that famous opera.
Yeah.
The Verdi.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah. So I said, Mary, I'm a carrier. What's going on? And so it was a lot of fun. That was one of the at the top of my head, one of the fun.
What I like about that is it's completely out of left field, and what a way to let your mind, body, and soul kind of just give control and let Mother Nature do what she's going to do, rattling your system and shaking it off, getting all wet and whatever, and then I got a show to do. Okay.
It was quite hilarious, and it was a lot of fun, though, I have to say.
Yeah.
I'm glad, and you know what? I'm so glad that she actually convinced me to do it, because I'm that singer that will not leave my hotel. I have to rest. I can't do anything before. And she showed me, girl, live a life. Yeah. Yes, you're a singer, but live. So thank you, Marietta.
Thank you, Marietta. I love that. You're a singer, but you have to live, because, I hold myself accountable to a strict regimen at times myself. And, when you're working really hard, you're like, I can't get off out of the lane. I can't get off the rails. Mm-hmm. I got to stay on course. But sometimes it's just what you need. Yeah. Just rattle, shake it off, and suddenly, realign, reassess, and boom, you're ready. Yes. So I think I'm going to end with that, folks. I am so thrilled. I am so joyed. I feel blessed for getting to know you a little bit more. You are so easy to listen to and engaging, and I hope our audience got what I got out of it, because I can't wait to actually meet you in person during our rehearsals, and maybe we'll do some live Instagram, moments. We're going to have some fun with this. So from Teatro Grattacielo to you, my dear, I'm giving you applause, a big hug, a kiss, and I can't wait for what's in store for us. No pressure, just fun and fabulousness. Absolutely. Because that's what you are, a blessing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity, David.
And thank you for sharing. I love the story about Mom. I'm so glad that Mom had that insight to just know where you were going to do, and she was a good mama bear. So, Mom, God bless. You're with us. All right, dear. Thank you so much. I'm going to say goodbye, but I won't say arrivederci until we meet again.
Yeah, arrivederci. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for chiming in.